Hello and welcome to Let's Review. Sequels are something of a hit and miss adventure. Video games tend to have a better track record of it than films do, for the simple reason that it's a lot easier to incrementally increase the quality of your mechanics than it is to create whole new stories and characters and interesting things for them to do. With that said, however, there are many video game sequels that have crashed and burned just as hard as film sequels like Highlander 2, Superman 4, or, well, frankly, any Disney sequel ever made. With that said, however, today I want to talk about one of the most interesting sequels I've ever played, as we once again go digging in the crate. I knew that I was going to be covering a sequel for this episode, largely because I promised him that I would. Unfortunately, he's not back yet from his little errand. Okay, gonna need a sidekick for this. Oh, I know. Sport! Hey, boy! Hello, how are you? Good? Okay. Would you mind doing me a favour and just sitting in Martin's chair and just reacting to what I say? There's a really long walk in it for you afterwards if you do. With that out the way then, let's talk about Dawn of War 2. Yeah, as you may have gathered, Spot's something of a Warhammer fan. For those of you who don't remember, Dawn of War was an RTS game that allowed you to control a number of the major races and several of the factions from the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Dawn of War 2 kind of throws that out the window. Let me explain. In between making the two Dawn of War games, Relic made Company of Heroes, a World War II RTS that focused primarily on commanding small squads, getting them into cover, and making heavy use of heavy weapons, setting up kill boxes, that kind of thing. When it came to make Dawn of War 2, the team took what they'd learned there and they ran with it. And as a result, Dawn of War 2 is a very different beast from Dawn of War 1, as it focuses on small squad tactics using Space Marines, each squad having its own unique function and its own named sergeant. The sergeants in question are Tarkus, who leads the Tactical Squad, Avitus, who leads the Devastator Squad, Thaddeus, who leads the Assault Squad, and Cyrus, who leads the Scout Squad. There's also your Force Commander, who you name yourself, and a sixth one whose identity I'm not going to give away as it's something of a spoiler. But suffice to say, they're all quite unique and interesting and fun to play with. They're all deployed to the subsector Aurelia, which is the sector from which the Blood Ravens draw their recruits. Initially, their deployment there is just to get a handle on a fairly small orc war that's cropped up, hopefully nothing major. Unfortunately, of course, it doesn't take long before everything starts going straight to hell. First, the Eldar turn up, and it's realised that they have been the ones prodding the orcs into a full-scale war. The reason for that is that the Tyranids are right behind them. And if you're not a Warhammer fan and you don't know what a Tyranid is, imagine a xenomorph from Alien crossed with a plague, crossed with Galactus. These things devour whole worlds, and stopping them is a damn near impossible job. So, of course, that becomes your mission. The game actually gives you multiple objectives to complete on your way to defeating the Hive fleet, and they can be done in whichever order you choose, each one getting you closer to stopping the Hive, while also providing you with interesting new items of war gear. In all honesty, this game plays a lot more like a tactical RPG than an RTS, as you manage the abilities of your hero units, while their squads primarily provide supporting fire. And ultimately, a game like that lives or dies on the quality of its loot. And the loot here is pretty damn awesome. You will start the game with fairly basic equipment, bolters, chainswords, basic power armor, that kind of stuff. But by the end of the game, you'll be wielding thunder hammers, assault packs, Terminator armor, and throughout the whole game you feel like your units are getting stronger and stronger, and that's definitely to the game's benefit. The campaign was actually directly continued in the first expansion, Chaos Rising, and I'll give you one guess as to which faction that added. Chaos Rising adds in the Forces of Chaos, but more interestingly for the campaign, it adds in an entirely new mechanic, corruption. Certain side objectives on the available missions will raise or lower your squad's corruption. Things like desecrating the tomb of a Space Marine fallen hero in order to get at their high-level armor, for example, will raise your corruption. And if your corruption gets higher and higher, your squads get more and more powerful as they succumb to the will of the Dark Gods and are rewarded in return. And while it can make your squads undeniably powerful, there is a downside. Part of the plot revolves around a traitor. Somebody has been betraying the Blood Ravens to the Black Legion, and you spend a decent chunk of the game trying to find out their identity. And that identity changes based on how you play. The most corrupt member of your squad will turn out to be the traitor. And if you've got all your squad completely pure, then it's a supporting character who has cropped up numerous times. This mechanic actually works really well, as it's your classic risk-reward. You make a character especially strong by corrupting them, but you know you're going to lose them towards the end of the campaign when you might need their abilities. At the same time, it also works really well narratively, with the idea of the slow, careful corruption of the Forces of Chaos. Frankly, it's a really fantastic mechanic, and I'm just sad that they didn't continue the idea with the second expansion pack, Retribution. Look, Retribution is not bad. I want to state that right from the off. But its honest problem is that it spreads itself too thin. It tries to include a campaign for each of the 6 races, including the newly added Imperial Guard. And what it ends up giving you is the same campaign that can be played as any of the 6 races. And in all honesty, it only really makes complete sense from the Space Marine perspective. With the rest, you could tell that they just took the campaign missions they already had and tweaked them to work. So it's got altered dialogue, and it's got occasionally the odd tweaked side objective. And as a result, it doesn't work that brilliantly. It works certainly better than it could have, but there are varying degrees of success. Some are better than others. The Imperial Guard campaign works pretty well. The Tyranid campaign is very lackluster. Retribution ultimately is a capstone, and when viewed in that light, it's actually not that bad. The final moments of the Space Marine campaign in particular are pitch perfect, and it ties up plot elements that have been hanging around since the first Dawn of War. And honestly, its problem is that the other 5 campaigns just aren't up to the same standard, narratively speaking. They're just nowhere near as satisfying. At the end of the day, Retribution definitely isn't bad, and it's got a lot of fun elements. A lot of those toys are really fun to play with. It just would have been nice if they could have put the same love and care into the campaigns for the other 5 races as they did for the Space Marines. However, with that said, Dawn of War 2 is very, very different from Dawn of War 1, to the point where a lot of people were disappointed. I, however, have managed to put 188 hours into Dawn of War 2 alone, so they must have done something right. Yeah. Dawn of War 2 is an excellent game. Is it flawless? No, absolutely not. But it is damn enjoyable, and it's one of those games I can just fire up and play for a little while and really have fun doing it. While it certainly has its drawbacks, and I can understand why people were disappointed, I still maintain that it is an excellent tactical RPG, and overall, I think it's absolutely worth playing. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think I owe Spot a long walk. I'll see you later.